Hello, Heatseekers. It's the Heat Sheet. Hello and welcome to the Heat Sheet, Scotland's premier wrestling news web podcast, which is mainly recorded and produced here in Northern Ireland. My name is Kris Jack. I am editor-in-chief of the Heat Sheet, and for the third week running, we welcome you to join us as we break down the very best of the past week's wrestling in tabloid form. And for the third week in a row, I am joined by Lewis McNaughton and Steve Roche to do so. Lads, welcome back to the Heat Sheet. Lewis, how's your evening been going so far?
It was going well, but I managed to Seth Rollins my back at the gym. Don't know what I was doing. Probably the fact I've not been in so long that I thought I could lift heavier weights than I could. I've dunted my back and feel like I'm going to have a very long night ahead, not getting to sleep. But, you know,
but will you make it to WrestleMania, Lewis? Will you make it to WrestleMania?
Try my very best. I'll get on the pain pills and see what I can do.
And what about yourself, Steve? How's your evening been going so far? How's preparation for your first Valentine's Day as a married man? How's that going for you?
Very well, actually. The missus got the roses that I ordered today.
Such a romantic.
I know, but the thing is, like, you shouldn't actually mail order or order roses off the internet because they never come the way that you predict it would, like the way it's presented and advertised to you. Because it's like, we kind of weak ones, and you know, a guy just had it in his van, so it came out a wee bit disappointed looking. But I got a really good card. It is a Traitors themed one. It's like Claudia Winkleman on the front, and it says, "To my Valentine, for you, I will always be faithful." So it's quite a funny Traitors themed one.
Did you get the roses I sent her as well, Steve? Turning heel nice and early in the podcast.
See, I was thinking there, you know, you're gonna have the card that says you're gonna be faithful, but when she opens up, it's actually saying that you've took the 98 grand and fucked off.
I've done the Harry on her.
Yeah.
She do that at me.
She's fucked off with Lewis.
Good stuff. Well, on that theme, on that Valentine's theme, I put out on Twitter and on Instagram earlier on to see if anybody could come up with a Valentine's poem about wrestling. We didn't really get much of a response. We're still very much in the fledgling days of people interacting with us on social media here. But Lewis, what did you come up with? What was your Roses Are Red poem in relation to wrestling for kicking things off this week?
So I seem, when you set these things out to me, my mind always goes quite morbid. And with the Iron Claw in my mind, fresh from seeing it last night, I'll say one that I'll probably get us cancelled instantly. I'll go, roses are red, violets are blue, Vince McMahon's in hell, and Fritz von Erich is too.
Nice, like that. What about yourself, Steve? Do we catch you in the hot with it, or?
I'll go dirty old man with it. It's like, roses are red, violets are blue. You're a better ride than watching TLC 2.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I like that. And again, getting us off to a flying start. Roses are red, kisses go moi, I'll love you to death, like Chris Benoit. That was that was the one that came in my head on there. But yeah, welcome to the Heat Sheet. You know, it took us a couple of weeks to find
the final Heat Sheet ever.
But I think we're back. I think we're back to what we were as in our previous incarnation with that one. Now, for first-time listeners, what we do here at the Heat Sheet is we break down the past week's wrestling news, and by breaking it down into the front page, the back page, the TV pages, and the gossip pages. This week, though, because it's Valentine's, I'm going to do something a bit different. So we're still going to have the front page, still going to have the back page, still going to have the TV pages, but in lieu of the gossip, we are going to change that to Super StarSigns. We're going to look at the horoscopes and see what love, or what's in the cards for wrestlers and their love lives based on their horoscopes this week. So we've got that to look forward to later on as well. But to kick things off, we'll jump right in and look to see what's gracing the front page of the heat sheet. So, Steve, I'll come to you first. What do you have as being the biggest wrestling story of the week?
Well, it's hard to get away with it. It's the ongoing chopping and changing of the WrestleMania main event and the fallout from that that press conference they had at Las Vegas, where Cody announced that he is going to go with Roman Reigns after all, and then it led to full heel turn from The Rock and the slap heard around the world.
Good stuff. It's definitely has been one of the biggest talking points, and the timeline of things. So last week when we were speaking, we were kind of a bit dumbfounded about Cody giving away his WrestleMania main event, saying quite clearly, he's not going to finish the story at WrestleMania. But come the Las Vegas press conference last Thursday night, all of that seemed to go pivot 180 on there. What were your immediate thoughts on how that kind of shift back to finishing the story at WrestleMania came about?
Well, news is broke apparently that WWE turned because they saw the furor and the fallout from the fans, and instantly I think they got it's eerily similar to WrestleMania 10 years ago, isn't it? When Batista came in, it was going to be him and Orton, right when the Daniel Bryan Yes movement was in full swing, and we were all pissed that Bryan had been shoved aside, and it was going to be the big Hollywood star getting the main event after fucking off for 3 or 4 years, and now it's kind of the same thing has happened, but apparently the view turned and it is now going to be Cody. But in a way, I think they have made a bit of a meal of it, but it now might work out because this version of The Rock, I'm loving it. I mean, he just doesn't give a fuck, and it's almost like we're seeing like this a scary version of The Rock almost, like saying do not talk shit about my family. It's like saying looking Cody dead in the eyes when you're talking about his family, you're talking about my family, and then slapping the shit out of him, and then telling Triple H backstage, you better sort this shit out or we will. It's it's kind of like it's echoes a sort of trying to think of a good comparison. Like echoes are kind of like when Triple H when he turned heel in the Daniel Bryan storyline. It's like Rock's almost mirroring that because that's what Rock is now a board member, so he can now do whatever the fuck he wants. And I like that they're showing that and they're taking that direction. And then I've not seen it all, but I saw the promo between Seth and Cody as well. Seth telling Cody, "I'm going to be your shield," and also saying, "I'm in a way responsible for the monster that is Roman Reigns." And what's even worse is it's now a two-headed monster because you've now got The Rock thrown in as well, abusing their power. And I think it's leading as well to apparent rumours that night one might now be a tag team match. Main event, Seth and Cody against Rock and Roman.
I think the Super Bowl or the ad for WrestleMania that dropped there about the Super Bowl kickoff or whenever it was kind of heavily leans into it there being some sort of tag match, which is interesting. It's an interesting way of doing it because it obviously gets the four sort of most talked about guys that are available for Mania. It gets them all in a prime position, and then if that's leading into Cody v Roman on night 2, then fair play to them. There's been a lot of talk about maybe The Rock not being fit enough or ring fit enough anyway to carry a WrestleMania main event on his own. So, I mean, Lewis, what's your opinion on that? Do you think that a tag match is probably the best way of utilising The Rock in the ring fitness that he's in just now?
I think it's all the whole we want Cody stuff and the outrage from the fans, and that's been a blessing in disguise for The Rock and Triple H and the whole company, I believe. It's The Rock coming in straight up against Roman Reigns, whether it be the fitness, whether it be I know there's a couple of months till, but the sort of jamming Rock into the feud, it just wouldn't have worked, I don't think. The whole Cody thing with the handshake and everything didn't. I don't think we were even going to get an explanation for that. So I think the way that it's kind of all fallen into place, having Rock in a tag team match, Seth, not ideal him fighting 2 nights in a row with his back and his knee and wherever, but I think to wean Rock into it, if he wants to have maybe a singles match at SummerSlam or WrestleMania, is a perfect start for him. And just in terms of the reactions for Cody now, I think this is, like I said, a complete blessing in disguise. I don't think Cody would have had, especially from personal opinion, Cody wouldn't have had the same backing from me at least that he does now if they didn't pivot Rock into it as well. You know, if it was just going to be Cody versus Roman, I think it would have been cool. We'd probably think Cody's going to win, yeah. But the fact that there's been a little bit of adversity to it has made everyone root for Cody a bit more, and he's turned into pretty much the biggest babyface since John Cena. So I think The Rock being in a tag team match, Seth Rollins getting a main event, being able to make Cody at least have the chance to finish the story, I think it's fallen on Triple H's lap for perfect booking. If it was this from the very start, fair play. If it wasn't, then fair play.
And going back to you on this, Steve, obviously, you know, a lot of the focus on this main event is going to be surrounding the Cody and the Roman side of things. With Rollins being involved there, again, much like The Rock, being fit enough for a full-on, 20, 25-minute main event. We know he's got his injuries. Do you think there's a chance that he loses his World Heavyweight Championship to Damien Priest? You know, if there's a cash-in or that before Mania, which makes this kind of work a wee bit better. You know, because obviously Rollins has lost out in his on the rumoured night 1 or night 2 main event that he was going to have with CM Punk. But do you see it being a good fit for him to drop that title to Priest so that we get some sort of worthwhileness coming out of his Money in the Bank?
Because I mean the Priest the Priest Money in the Bank cash-in's got to mean something. It's been a long time since we got a shock cash-in on the men's side anyway. I think the last big one I can remember, was I know Big E got it against Lashley, but even that was expected because he tweeted it the week before, didn't he? So it wasn't a shock. So they've got to do. I think if Seth's back is as bad as they're suggesting, I think Priest is your kind of get a jail card in that regard, and then have him face Drew at Mania for the title. I know on paper that's not a blockbuster match, but Drew's on this great run is right now, this bitter heel run, and he's the justified heel run. We say he's a heel, but actually in a way he's a babyface. He's like a reverse babyface, if that makes sense, because he's acting like a heel, but he's not wrong in anything he's said. So the crowd would be firmly behind him, facing Priest at Mania and hopefully winning the belt. So that would be a smart cash in, I'd say. That's what the Money in the Bank should be there for. It's your kind of insurance policy when one of your champs is not fit enough to carry on anymore, and you've got a big pay-per-view around the corner.
So if we are going down the route then of Priest cashing in on Rollins, does he do it at Elimination Chamber to give a month of build as him being champion and then working that in? Or, after the night 1 tag team match, does he cash in on an injured Rollins after facing The Rock and Roman? And then
first of all,
gets a WrestleMania moment from it? Possibly.
That could be something. And then that makes night 2 even more of a spectacle. I need to ask though, what is the Chamber match? Is it a world title match with Seth?
Yeah, that's what is that not what it's
Right.
been billed as? It's to get a shot at Seth at
Yeah,
Mania.
it's
Aye, aye.
a number one contenders for WrestleMania.
So right, so then Drew will win that, and maybe maybe could be somewhere they do a contract signing, like in a week or two's run up to Mania, and then Judgment Day come out, attack the two of them, and that's when Damien does the cash in. They could do that as well.
Because I'm thinking that there's been the, Rhea Ripley having McIntyre on side for the longest time as well. So again, you've got the lore, you've got the backstory there that there's something going on, with Drew and Judgment Day in the background. And that would be that could be the catalyst for the face turn, the split of the Judgment Day, and Priest doing there. But there's certainly a lot of possibilities because I really don't want them to muck up Priest's Money in the Bank. I don't want him to have held it for so long for them not to do something
I think,
with it.
yeah, I think just being purely evil here, I think the most outlandish thing you could do is on night 2 have Cody beat Roman Reigns and then have Priest cash in on Cody.
Oh,
I'll die on
100%.
that hill. I'll die on that hill.
Philadelphia will be setting fire, man.
Exactly,
Fucking
mate.
hell.
Exactly.
He finishes one story and another one begins. Like that's I think that'd be great. The masochist in me would absolutely love that. But I think it's probably I think it is more likely that it would be Rollins. Given we know that he's working hard, given this tag team thing looks to be going on. I think if they can get the belt off of Rollins either at Elimination Chamber or off the back of that. Off the back of that tag match, I think it's the right move, and it needs to be worth it. It needs to be worth something. It needs to be a statement making cash in, and hopefully it elevates Priest into that full on main event scene because he's definitely there. He's got the look. He's got the size. He can talk, and even his story. I mean, you see quite often the pictures of how he looked 10 years ago. When he looked out of shape, he didn't look like anything special. And you see that transformation that he's had.
He's got the Latin American background, so they've got that, and they always like to have a big Latin American star to take advantage of the Hispanic markets and all that.
Yep. So I'm fully on board for Priest either getting a WrestleMania moment or becoming champ sooner. That Mania. So that's a good start, Tiz. That's a good base for us to work on for the front page this week. Lewis, what would you put up against it?
Yeah, we've kind of touched on the man so far, but I just want to talk about it could be more gossip than story wise so far, but it looks like Drew McIntyre's re-signed. It's not as big a story, but it's something that sort of catch my attention. Maybe the Scottish bias in me, but. There's been massive rumours over the last year or so that he's been unhappy and he's looking to do different things. But it looks finally that he's settled down. He's going to be a WWE superstar for life, hopefully. And hopefully that maybe gives a more of an incentive for Triple H, whoever it is, booking to give him that big WrestleMania moment that he's never really had in front of people.
Yeah, I think like most Scottish wrestling fans, we were expecting, when WrestleMania rolled about after COVID, when it was delayed by the rain and Samoa Joe and Michael Cole were there in their ponchos, we were thinking, McIntyre's he's gonna have that big WrestleMania victory. Mm-hmm. It was Bobby Lashley, wasn't it?
First match on the card.
They had on that, and by not leaving there as champion, it kind of did him a bit of a disservice for everything they had done during the Performance Centre era and the what was it they called it again? The Thunderdome.
The Thunderdome, man.
When they were doing all that, he really did carry it. And as you say, the Scottish bias, and as we want to see our guys doing well, and if he is able to, as part of his re-signing, get that opportunity, then it'd be ideal. But as we were just discussing there's only a couple of ways that he could maybe get that WrestleMania moment this year. Is he going to be happy enough being promised something down the line? because you never know. You look at how frequently folk are getting injured just now. Next WrestleMania is not a guarantee. SummerSlam's not a guarantee for a lot of them as well. So it's putting a lot of faith in himself as well as the creative and all that. If it is these signing on those grounds, but is there anything that you see that could happen? The next maybe 3 to 6 months if Drew has these signed, if it doesn't win the title at Mania or one of the subsequent PLEs, how do you see the next 6 months panning out for McIntyre?
I think he's been dotting around the main event scene so much that there isn't much they can do otherwise. I think that how logical he's been and how methodical he's been in terms of his actual character and the words he's speaking lead only to I would have him win the belt at WrestleMania, maybe in a triple threat with Seth and Sami. But if he doesn't, then will he be happy enough to ditter around the Intercontinental title? Can you have a new star come in, and will he be happy working with them and putting them over? Because he's been quite vocal in the past that it's not really about money for him. It's about his status. How fulfilled he feels in the role that he's sort of producing on television. But if you could have an external story that lasts 3-4 months with him that actually means something rather than just a random feud, then I'm sure his head won't turn from the WWE. But how good he's been, they've kind of backed himself into a corner of kind of having to give him a world title at some point here, I think.
Yeah, he's talked his way back into that main event picture. His promos over the last wee while have been amazing. And as you said earlier on, Steve, everything he's been saying has been the truth. It's just, he's delivering it in that heelish manner, but he's every conviction he has is justified in what he's doing. I mean, that promo we see in Punk the other week there, I prayed for this to happen. That was absolute money. And I just think that if he hasn't re-signed, it would be a big loss, because he has been one of the better characters over the last 6 months on WWE programming. How would you see, as I said to Lewis there, his next 6 months in WWE, how would you book first 6 months for Drew Galloway in All Elite Wrestling?
I mean, Drew Galloway in AEW would be very interesting. I would, if I were Tony Khan, I would straight away have him and Ospreay battle out for who's the biggest British star, who's the face of the European market for AEW. Maybe throw Pac in there as well.
Well, surely you'd have Ospreay Galloway as your all-in main event.
Oh, aye, 100%. I mean, if you want to sell a UK wrestling show, that's what you do. Probably the UK's two biggest wrestling stars and names. So you mean that would be good. That would go straight up my street. You can also, there's ready-made stuff there to be had. Where I'm thinking guys like Wardlow, guys like Hobbs, all the big horse guys. Drew can make magic with them. Does he become champion instantly? I don't know, because AEW is different. AEW wants a workhorse guy to be their champions. Whereas WWE are still the land of the giants. AEW is more your workhorse type champions. That's so your Omegas, your MJFs, now your Samoa Joes. So would he become world champion? I just don't know.
He'd need to go through the rankings first. Need to build his way up.
I could definitely see him getting run with the TNT belt, because that's more the entertainment belt, if that makes sense. So I could definitely see him getting a run with that.
Cool. Well, again, that's a good strong story there. I was surprised none of these went back to what we predicted would be this week's headlines with Tony Khan's big announcement last week. The fact that AEW have booked a show in Boston. What's they've given it a name?
It's Big Business.
Big Business.
Aye.
So yeah, heavily implying but not confirming that Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné rather, is going to be All Elite soon enough. So I was surprised that didn't come up as one of the big news stories.
Well, I think it was. I think that was predictable, wasn't it? I mean, it was either Mercedes or a CAD, and it turned out to be Mercedes. Well, not officially, but 99.9% sure it's for her.
Do you think? We'll come back to you, Lewis, to finish off your thought on this. Do you think if as we've just kind of surmised there, if Drew Galloway does end up in AEW alongside Mercedes Moné, who do you think would be the bigger draw?
Oh, it's hard to compare because they're both pretty big draws, but in different ways. Drew more for our sake, the UK side, was Mercedes more. She's a moneymaker for your women's division. She's had a bit of mainstream exposure with the Mandalorian. I think depends what market is. In the US market, it's definitely Mercedes. More internationally, it's Drew. And Drew's a guy that draws in your hardcore fans as well.
What about yourself, Lewis? What would your thoughts be? Who do you think would be the bigger pool?
To be fair, I don't think there is much between them. Steve's probably right in terms of different audiences and different markets for them. But again, maybe the bias in me. I think that where Mercedes money could be a kick up the arse for the women's division, and especially in the eyes of Tony Khan anyway, but it's been somewhat neglected in the last 4 years since its inception. But again, you could say you stick Mercedes Moné in there. She elevates so many women. She creates so many matches, and she is probably the top dog there. If you stick Drew Galloway into that men's division, there is a small chance that he potentially gets lost in the shuffle at some point. No matter how big a draw is, you could stick the Rock in there, and how big their men's side is, he could end up somehow getting lost in the shuffle. You see what Adam Copeland, how big a star he was in WWE. I think that there is a bigger chance of Mercedes Moné creating something more meaningful in terms of progression for AEW, but I think that short term, Drew McIntyre could put on some magic there.
Smashing. So that's two very good propositions for the front page. But I think just because it has been the continuous story over the last week while, Steve, I'm going to give the front page to you this week, which the headline we've got for that is "Turn from the Rock leads to Cody Roman Lock." Love a bit of rhyming in the headlines there. So from all the big news outside of the ring, all the chat, all the verbiage, to the in-ring action as we look to fill the back page. Now, Liz, I'll come to you first on this. What has been your pick of the week's in-ring action?
Quite unlike me, I've not seen pretty much any wrestling this week. I've probably focused more on like you're saying, the promos from Seth and Cody and Rock and Roman and whoever. However, I seen the Imperium versus the Usos and Jey Uso and the New Day last night, and I thought that was a pretty fun match. You got to see Jey Uso square up against Gunther. There was a few moments in the match that were just quite refreshing to see in terms of you don't see it often. One being that Gunther talks a lot of shit when he's in tag matches and stuff. He even in single matches, he speaks to the commentators, he speaks to the person at ringside, saying, "I'm the man, I can do this, I can do that." And at one point, Jey Uso was on the apron, and he was chatting shit to him, and Jey Uso just went into the ring, slapped him right across the face, and just pretty much walked out. I'm not accepting that.
I think that's the only clip of it that I've seen was Jey just coming in and wiping his face off him.
Yeah, that was good to see someone bring in Gunther down to size a little bit. And something that you don't often see in 6-man tags was the majority of, I wouldn't say the majority, maybe like 50% of the match was 1v1. It was a preview of next week's Raw of Jey Uso versus Gunther. The 4 men on the outside were pretty much out of it for a long time, and it was 5, 6, 7 minutes of just Jey Uso versus Gunther. So it was different to see pretty much a singles match inside of a 6-man tag, which was good to see. But any New Day match you see, any Jey Uso match you see, any Gunther match you see, you're going to be entertained. And if you've not seen this one, I'd suggest watching it because it's hard hitting and pretty fun at the same time.
So with everything that was involved in that match last night, do you think we're going down the route of maybe getting Jey versus Gunther at Mania? Or is that more likely, do you think, to be something for the Chamber?
I think that it's been announced that it's going to happen next week. However, we know how this works. There is a lot of time where there's a DQ, it carries on to the next pay-per-view, etc. However, I think that this, similar to maybe it was a couple of years ago or something, there's always a random title match that sets up a WrestleMania match by someone costing the challenger. And if I was to put my money on the table, I would say this match has been set up for Jimmy Uso to cost Jey Uso. And that sets up a 2-month build for their grudge match at WrestleMania. So if, like I said, if I was to put money on it, I would say that was going to happen. If it turns out that that's just a prolonged story for maybe even a triple threat with the two of them and Jey Uso. If not, Jey Uso coming out to his entrance at WrestleMania, Gunther getting a WrestleMania moment, I'd be not adverse to seeing that one-on-one at WrestleMania.
I think it's a good way of looking at it, because although the bloodline stuff is still kind of lingering over Jey, it does seem that he's kind of moved past it. Obviously, Jey versus Jimmy is a WrestleMania worthy match. It's just, and I know that it doesn't need an awful lot of build. So if it is Jimmy costing Jey the Intercontinental title, then that's it's fair enough. I like the logic on that. But I'm gonna pose this one to you. They end up having Jey versus Gunther at the Chamber. Jimmy costs Jey to set up the Mania match between the two of them. Who's Gunther's opponent? There's been so much interaction between Imperium and the New Day over the last wee while. Jay's done a good job deputising, but it'd be great. Gunther could say, I've beat Xavier Woods, I've beat Kofi, the Giovanni Vinci, and is he still Marcel Bartel?
Kaiser, isn't it?
Oh, Ludwig Kaiser. So it is. So it is. They've had the edge on the New Day as well over the last wee while. What's the one person that Gunther's not faced, or the one challenge that Imperium haven't come up against is a full strength New Day, and then you have Big E come back, wins the Intercontinental title. Gunther can then win up, so that he's put into the main event scene. What was your thoughts on that, Steve? How do you see things, both for the New Day and for Imperium leading into the WrestleMania season?
I love that idea. Will that be the thing that happens? I just don't know, because that's like 2 years Big E's been out. Are WWE going to really give one of their major titles to a guy that's been out 2 years, especially neck surgery? I don't know. If that, I love it now. I love the idea of it. I just don't know. I know a lot of people want LA Knight to do it, but I think he's more on tap to face Logan Paul for the US title. Another one another two actually, that's often brought up is Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. One of those two maybe dethrone him. I think Sammy deserves a reward for all the good stuff he's done the last couple of years. And Kale, because he's a believable kind of foil for Gunther. He's the prize fighter stuff and all that, and the blue collar fighter type guy. And I think a match between Gunther and Kevin Owens would be right up my street as well.
I think just like kind of like going back to what you were saying there. I know that Owens is maybe more the physical match for Gunther, but Sami Zayn, if Sami Zayn was to dethrone him and Owens beats Logan Paul, then you can have that, that bet. They won the tag titles last year together.
Yeah.
Then they're both winning the mid card titles this year.
They get the two mid card titles together at the same WrestleMania. So yeah, that's a nice idea.
Then you could have next year. You could have the two of them facing off for either the Universal or the World Heavyweight.
Nice. So it's a kind of nice establishment.
We should be booking stuff. We should be booking.
I know, man. I was going to ask, is Kaiser and Vinci been tag champions yet on the main roster? That's surely about to happen soon enough, isn't it?
Well, it's the Judgment Day just now, isn't it? It's Finn and Priest.
I think there's more chance of Kaiser filling the role that Gunther's probably going to leave in that IC division than a tag run. To be honest, I think that Fabian Eichner's been, or Vinci, he was that was the old one. So we're just throwing out Imperium's old names here. Giovanni Vinci has been kind of Big Walter was called that now. He's been kind of pushed to the side a wee bit. He's taken all the pins, all this and all that. If they can build him up, give them a feud against PIY or something in terms of a world title.
There's been long rumours Ilya Dragunov's coming to the main roster and he might join Imperium, won't he?
I just do away with all that lore that's been built up across WXW and NXT UK and all that.
Aye, when they had it, what was the match where, 58 chops or something? Somebody counted it on Twitter.
I saw a video. It was like my daughter was scrolling through YouTube Shorts the other day, and it was if you slap a chicken breast 10,000 times, it cooks it. And it just immediately made me think of Walter chopping Dragunov back in NXT UK. Like, he absolutely roasted.
Gunther could probably cook it with one chop.
His chest was so red, it was like he may as well be living wearing a Liverpool top or something like that. That's how fucking bright red it was.
It was mental. But yeah, I need to go and check out the actual match from last night's Raw because again I've seen very little actual wrestling this week, but it does seem like a good choice, and from what we've discussed there, it looks like it could be setting up a number of possibilities on the road to WrestleMania. Steve, what match has you chomping at the bit to get on the back page this week?
We don't talk about Japan enough, do we? Basically, largely because I don't think any of us have got the time to watch anything from Japan. Not that we don't like it, it's just, lack of time. But there was a big event that happened Sunday night, and one of the lads, Lee's his name, that were from the Discords that we're still in, mentioned this, going, guys, watch Bullet Club War Dogs versus United Empire. It was a War Games match from New Beginning in New Japan. It's absolutely mental, and I'm not even finished the match yet, but it's 40 minutes in, and holy shit, it is crazy. It's a bit like similar, exact same setup as a Blood and Guts match or a War Games match in AEW or WWE, but the one big difference is that they don't actually have the steel cage around the ring. They actually put it like pretty much where the guard barriers is, where the fans are. So it stands outside of it. And at first I'm going, that's a bit weird, but no, it makes the match better because it spreads out more.
So it's kind of like Hell in a Cell type war games.
So it's like Hell in a Cell without the roof. So it means that they can all you can have guys doing stuff in the ring and then have them do stuff out it as well.
Is that Punjabi prison? Is that more Punjabi prison?
It does. It's kind of like that, but it's also the cage is also like the very old style steel cages from the 80s and 90s. Remember the blue one with the large squares? It's got that sort of look as well, which I quite like. It's something I've been wishing WWE go back and do for years now. But it's like I say, I'm way out of the New Japan continuity and lore, but I did have a quick read up of what's been going on. It's officially Ospreay's last match in New Japan because we know he's going to AEW, and his faction, United Empire, have been warring for ages with this new version of the Bullet Club called the War Dogs. It's now fronted by Dave Finlay, who's Fit Finlay's son, and there's other guys in it. Gabriel Kidd, who's been a big star in the UK scene for years, is one of them. So too is a guy called Alex Coughlin. He's an Australian guy. This guy's jacked, and he is mental, and that's one of the kind of big spots that's in it. Is you need to see this to believe, right? Coughlin's got a steel chair, and he swings it. This guy called Hinari, who's on Will Ospreay's team, right? Hinari's this big Samoan, or I think Samoan or Fijian or something like that. He swings it at him, and Hinari punches it, and the actual seating bit of the chair bursts through and hits Coughlin full on the face, right? And then like the rim of the chair is round his neck, but Coughlin actually it just totally no sells it, and then like just shouts at Hinari's face. It's a brilliant visual that one of these ones that will live for years. And this guy's it's become an instant star from it. There's also a guy that comes out in like it's like Rambo. You know, he had like Rambo with the belt, bullets round his torso and that. Well, this guy does that, but instead of bullets, it's knives and forks that he's taking to the thing. It's absolutely it's a mental match, and there's a couple of like, familiar faces in it. Remember TJP that was in the Cruiserweight Classic? He was on Will Ospreay's side, and there's another guy who's called Francisco Akira. This guy's a star. He's a brilliant high flyer. He's like the old version of Will Ospreay. He basically is the new Will Ospreay back from his junior heavyweight days. So he's a big star in it as well. And I like this new version of Bullet Club. Bullet Club seemed to have died away. You thought they kind of died away as soon as Jay White left New Japan for AEW, but I would say they're as strong as they've ever been. It's like the best incarnation of them since I'd say Kenny Omega was the main man there.
Really?
Aye, so they've made a sort of mini comeback, which I really like. And the card itself, this was a way bigger card than I thought. Zack Sabre Jr. and Bryan Danielson 2 was on this card. And it was also Okada's last ever match with New Japan against Tanahashi. So they had a kind of one more for the road kind of type match. But the big talking point is this mental War Games match. Some are calling it the greatest War Games match ever. As I said, I've annoyingly not found the time to watch it all, but I would highly recommend it. It's more fascinating alone just because it's in Japan, because Japan so seldom does matches like that. They do hardcore matches and they do death matches, but they don't do like steel cage or ladder matches. It's so rare. New Japan's all about the strong style, just your regular one-on-one matches. So it's so interesting to see that put in front of a Japanese audience, and they seem to really enjoy it as well. I think there would have always been a fear that might backfire because the Japanese wrestling fan, they don't really tend to like that sports entertainment style, but they seem to really enjoy this. So it's finally kind of going to see more of that stuff in New Japan as well.
Do you think that with it being, as you say, being quite a violent match, being quite an innovative looking match, do you think that's the best send off that Ospreay could have got from New Japan before they does lock up at AEW full time?
Give me 1 second. I've just got the battery running low warning. Sorry.
Well, come to you, Lewis. Into it, like I don't know what your knowledge of New Japan is. Mine's is very, very limited. Steve's obviously the guru on the heat sheet when it comes to the Japanese stuff. But what's your perception of Ospreay leaving the Japanese style to become a more mainstream, a more television friendly wrestler as he's going to become with AEW?
Correct me if I'm wrong. I've watched a decent amount of New Japan in my time. However, I don't think he's ever fully had a New Japan style. I think he's been one of the one to incorporate UK and American into it. So I think he's got the full package really. So I think that's why he can go anywhere.
He's kind of had the best way to describe him is Dynamite Kid crossed with a sort of own heart style. I think that's a kind of a good way to have described him. To answer your question from before, Chris, I don't know if it was the best match for Ospreay, but I think what they were going for here is to get more of their Western stars out there, like the likes of the Gabriel Kids and the Axe Coughlins and the Dave Finleys, because they're losing their top guy on the domestic side and their top guy on the international side. Mm-hmm. So they need to make a big Western star, and that's what they've aimed to do here. Particularly Finley. Finley's now the front man of Bullet Club. I think he's kind of taking Jay White's mantle. So I think that's what they were going for here. And I think credit to Ospreay as well, because he's done a really good job in putting these guys over on his way out. So you can't say that he's not trying to do something and give back to New Japan for the big success he's had with them and for everything that they've given him.
Awesome. So I think on the basis that we've seen different incarnations of New Day and Imperium and Jay over the last wee while, I think I'm going to give this week's back page to that War Games match, just because it's something that we should, if you're not a New Japan regular viewer, that sounds like something that needs to be checked out. And with the importance of it being Ospreay's last New Japan match, as well as you said on the card there as well, Steve, being Okada's final one as well. I think that we should be looking over to that, and I'm going to be very, very lazy journal on this, and the headline's going to be Ospreay's last match should have us turning Japanese, which is a horrible headline, but I couldn't think of anything much.
That's quite good, because it might be a good time to get into New Japan, because you're going to see some new stars rise up now. They're pushing out some of the guys that they're golden lines kind of guys, like Umera and Yuta Tsuji, because they know they need to make some big stars now. And New Japan has a long history of, just when they're about to lose stars or have a down period, they really go all out and create new stars. I mean, Tanahashi became a big star right when they're at their lowest period, right after Hashimoto died and Chono had to retire and guys like that. So it might be a good time to do that, to get into New Japan.
Cool. In fact, just for you saying that there, Steve, I thought that's a pretty lazy headline to go with. So I'm going to change it to Ospreay's last New Japan match is this week's number one with a Bullet Club. That's what I'm going to go with on that. Now, Steve, I am actually going to pass over to another version of you here for this week's centrefold. as you went to see the Iron Claw this week, and it kindly delivered in my inbox over the weekend a very articulate and very detailed review of the Oscar snubbed film. So for the next 5 minutes, Steve, I'm going to pass over to the other version of you, starting now.
Hello everyone, it's Stephen Roche here, or this week it should be Stephen Welch, because I'll be giving you a film review in the style of Jonathan Ross. I'm not long back from the cinema after watching The Iron Claw, and I just wanted to share a quick review of the film. First of all, I don't think it's credited enough how perfect a title The Iron Claw is. Not only was it Fritz von Erich's signature submission hold, it also perfectly describes the vice-like hold and influence that he had over his boys, and that plays out as the film goes on. The level of detail that they managed to put into the film is just incredible. Not only with the wrestling matches that they shot, but with the time period that it's set in and the location. For instance, early on in the film there's a shot of the Dallas Sportatorium, which was the venue most commonly used by World Class Championship Wrestling, and if it isn't the actual venue itself, then it is an identical replica, and the interior shots are so well done, particularly for that era of wrestling and how mad and raucous crowds were at the time. It is amazing how well of a job they've done in setting up that much detail into the film. But what's most impressive is how uncanny each cast member resembles their real life counterpart, and it's not only the main cast, the background characters as well. The actors that they found to play the Fabulous Freebirds and Bruiser Brody are dead on, but the one I really have to mention here is Harley Race. I had to look up IMDb to find the actor that they cast to play him, because I was convinced it was his son or nephew or something, because not only did he look exactly like him, he even behaved and moved like him. It was brilliant stuff by that actor. Something that I'm really glad they addressed was not to pander to the general audience about the ins and outs of wrestling. There is a quick mention of it being fake and predetermined, but they leave it at that, because quite frankly, whether you're a wrestling fan or not, if you don't know by now how wrestling works, then I can't understand why you're watching this movie. Putting the wrestling aside, the movie is about brotherhood, it's about family, it's about the pressures of expectations and the burden of talent. It's also about how you exercise your demons and the belief that you and your family are cursed. It's also a cautionary tale of what could happen when a parent pressurises their children too much into chasing the fulfilment of the dreams and success that you didn't quite achieve in your heyday. Zac Efron delivers a superb performance as Kevin Von Erich. He not only got himself in phenomenal shape, he brilliantly portrays a man who, despite being arguably the most talented and mentally strong of all of his brothers, he is the one that is shunned most by his father, and is also arguably punished the most for both his and his brother's failings. That sort of is the cruel irony of the story. But for me, the best performer of all was Hope McElhaney, who plays the patriarch Fritz. He really portrays Fritz's bitterness towards the NWA for not giving him his run as the world champion really well, and that does a good job of explaining Fritz's reasons for pushing his boys so hard and demanding them to reach these lofty heights. There's one particular scene where the family are having breakfast at the table, and Fritz, casual as you like, gives the boys his rankings in order of who his favourites are. So he says, right now, Kerry's my number one, then Kevin, then David. It's disturbing to see a parent do that with his children. It made me imagine what life would be like if I was brought up in a house like that. What would that do to you? What would that drive you to do in order to rise up to those expectations? It's such a difficult thing for me, who grew up as a lonely child, to grasp and understand. There are a couple of negatives. One of the key events of the movie just suddenly hits us pretty much out of nowhere. There's a brief ominous foreshadowing to what is about to happen, and then bang, we're walked with it. Some would argue that only serves the story better, but I would have liked a slower build up. Earlier I commented on how well the casting was, but sadly I really didn't like the actor they hired to play Ric Flair. The guy tried too hard, I'd argue, to be like peak Flair, but it just comes off as forced, and the blonde wig that the guy wears is just too distracting. They also sadly edited out the story involving Lance Von Erich, aka the fake Von Erich, who is played by MJF, which means we don't get to see how well the AW star performs on the big screen. There is a blink and you'll miss it shot of him, so he's not completely shunned And who knows, maybe they'll release an extended cut on DVD or Blu-ray where they add that part back in. Overall, it's a great movie. It's of course tragic, it's emotional, and I'm not embarrassed to say that I shed a tear or two. It's a tough watch as well, and it does get depressing. For that reason, I wouldn't recommend that you take your wife or your girlfriend out to see it for your romantic Valentine's Day date, but I do absolutely recommend that you go see it in any other circumstance, especially if you're a die-hard wrestling fan. I truly do believe that anyone would be entertained by this movie. Please go ahead and recommend it to your pals, your parents, your extended family, your workmates, and anybody else you can to go and see it. I would comfortably say that it does now take the mantle of being the best ever wrestling themed movie. Previous to that, it was probably a toss-up between The Wrestler and Fighting With My Family. Apart from, of course, Ready to Rumble. That was a great film. If Dave Meltzer were a film critic, I'm confident he would reward The Iron Claw 4.5 stars. If it was shot in the Tokyo Dome, of course, he'd give it 6 stars.
Thank you very much, Steve. That was a brilliant review. Lewis, have you managed to see The Iron Claw just yet?
I watched it last night. I think my intro to this paints a picture of my opinions on the Fritz von Erich in particular, of just how his, I don't know, like, I've not heard Steve's review of it. I'll hear it at the same time everyone else does, but my opinions is that he cares way more about that NWA title and WCCW than he does his own Burns, which is brutal. He can't.
That's true. He was
horrible.
like a real. He was a real life Tywin Lannister.
Mm-hmm.
He was like he loved his name and his legacy more than his own children. For that reason alone, he is a bit of a see you next Tuesday.
Yeah, it's just the even like having to bypass some of the deaths in the family because it was too morbid is just proof in the pudding of how fucked that whole family is and how completely suited it is to a Dark Side of the Ring showing. How they've made that film somewhat light-hearted at points is a real testament to the directors and everything as well, because it's just tragedy after tragedy after tragedy, and it's even though I knew the Von Erich family story, it still came out of that film a little bit teary-eyed. So my opinions are, if you want to go and watch it. Even if you're not a wrestling fan, I think it paints out as a movie worth seeing for everyone, unless you're a little bit maybe touchy on death, things like that. But my pal kind of quoted it quite well. He left the film and went, "It's like I watched the ending of Marley and Me 4 times during that film." So make of that as what you will, and good luck if you go to see it.
Awesome. I'll need to find time to get to check
it
it as well.
It is a tear jerker. Like, it's like I wish I could speak to a lot of people that were in there, like ask if you're a wrestling fan or not, because like I'd love to see a non-wrestling fan's reaction. Someone totally oblivious to the story, like going into they might think they were going to watch some cool wrestling movie, and then by the end of it be absolutely broken by this harrowing real life story that happened. But it is a great film, and fuck the Oscars for ignoring it. I know shit like that shouldn't matter, but like, how does something like that fall through the cracks? It's so disappointing to see. And I'm gutted for Zac Efron that he's not had any award allocation, because the amount of work he put in it was insane. He got himself in unbelievable shape, and he credit to him, he's done a lot as well to build wrestling up and defend wrestling all through his kind of public showings all through it, commenting very highly on the amount of training and the amount of choreography that wrestlers need to go through, and I think we should applaud him for that.
Awesome. Now, obviously, you guys have been to see that this week, which is something which is very wrestling related. But to fill our TV pages, is there anything wrestling related but not necessarily wrestling that you guys think that our listeners should be seeking out as we look to fill our TV pages?
Well,
I'll come to you first on this one, Steve. What's been kind of catching your eye in the world of social media, YouTube, other places?
just something daft, but we need something a bit silly and a bit entertaining, especially after if you've just after watched the Iron Claw. This will kind of cheer you up a wee bit. There's a really good there's been really good videos being shared recently of a lot of the big promos that have been happening, like stuff like the Drew and Cody one, or the Drew and Punk one when Drew was telling him I slept like a baby, or the Punk the Cody and Seth one, but it's instead dubbed over with Mickey Mouse and Goofy. It's just really funny, just something so silly and so daft, but very very funny to watch. The account that I get it from is called Time is a Squared Circle. I don't know if that's the official one that does it, but it's one that shares a lot of the stuff that's gone viral on wrestling Twitter or Instagram. So check that out if you want a good normal laugh or something funny.
Time is a Square Circle is like the name of an East Coast emo band from the early 2000s that's really into the wrestling.
Right. Well, I thought it would be like the name of something like the name of like an intellectual wrestler's autobiography. Something like Al Snow. About he's a bit of an arse. So it was something that he would probably name his autobiography.
It lends itself well to a lot of wrestling literature and media and stuff. And what about yourself, Lewis? Other than the Iron Claw, what has been making you square-eyed this week for stuff that's kind of related to the Square Circle?
I'd say I was watching the Super Bowl, and I've been quite into my American football, like everyone is, for one day a year. But after it, there was a video came out of Patrick Mahomes carrying about a WWE Championship, passing it to all the players, and they're all wanting photos with it and everything like this, carrying it around with as much prestige as they were the Super Bowl trophy, which they've worked countless years to get. So I just think every time you see this, every time you see a celebrity, especially we've seen the belt that Snoop Dogg carries around sometimes. I've seen like T-Pain and Justin Bieber and Wale, and obviously everyone. Yeah,
there's one the Rangers have got for when Drew won it.
I know. It's just the way that WWE markets their titles to other sports franchises, and the way that the other sports franchises and teams treat the belt with sort of prestige and like a little bit of sort of awe. The WWE titles there just shows the weight that the WWE holds in the sporting world for it being not real, and for it being choreographed, and for it being talked down upon a little bit. I think the way that other sporting teams and celebrities and everything sort of portray these belts and parade them about is only a positive for WWE, and that's why they have that big logo.
LeBron James, he still sometimes cuts about with one because he's close friends with Cena and all that as well.
It's an amazing marketing ploy by the WWE as well, because as you were saying there, it's got the big WWE logo square in the middle of it, and if it's been flouted about, whether it's the Super Bowl, whether it's Stanley Cup final, whether it's NBA playoff finals, all that sort of stuff, it's getting their brand seen at the peak of these teams celebrating the pinnacle of their season. So it's a really, really good bit of marketing for them. And as you say, it's something, it's a wearable, and I'm pretty sure, it's maybe hard, like the Kansas City Chiefs, they'll get a medal or a ring or whatever, but they're not going to get their own Super Bowl trophy to keep. Whereas I'm pretty sure they'll be supplied with their own championship winning belts, that kind of stuff. They definitely won't hold as much clout as what the winning the Super Bowl or the Super Bowl ring gets you, but it's something that you can display and whatnot as well. So you can see why they'd be excited to receive it. And it is that crossover as well, This year's Super Bowl, I read earlier on Sky Sports News, this year's Super Bowl was the most viewed television event in American history since the moon landing. And a big factor of that is obviously the Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce stuff. It had a lot more eyes on it. But it's just fascinating that everyone's been encapsulated by it. As you say, Lewis, it's the one day a year where everybody becomes an American football fan. But the fact that WWE are so switched on to the fact that it's such a big game, so many eyes are on it, and they're putting their branding, in amongst the celebrations of it. So it's very clever.
Remember, there's also that talk. I mean, it's bollocks. I don't see it happening, but there's that serious talk of Taylor Swift coming in and doing something at WrestleMania.
Was that not just us? Was that last time? Well, that in existence a few months ago.
But remember, Io Sky, when she won the women's title, was asked at a press conference. But she does have a loose wrestling connection, Taylor Swift. She used to babysit Jeff Jarrett's kids.
That's right. I think CM Punk had tweeted a picture of her playing with his doll. Not a euphemism. The other day there.
He wishes.
But yeah, the Swift effect's massive. But you need to give credit to Triple H as chief content manager.
That must piss Tony Khan off, because Tony Khan part owns an NFL franchise.
Oh, 100%.
He must be thinking, why the fuck am I not doing this? I own a fucking NFL team, for Christ's sake.
I'm pretty sure I saw that there's WWE belts for every NFL team apart from the Jaguars.
Aye, it's because of Tony Khan. Aye,
it's mental.
So he must and I've also read the reason why AEW has still not done a stadium show is because WWE has got so many close connections with the other NFL franchises, because WrestleMania is always held at one of the NFL stadiums, so there's always a good bit of politicking going on, and that even includes the Jacksonville, because even though Khan's dad owns the Jacksonville Jaguars, he would still need to get permission from the NFL to host a non-football related event at it.
Politics. Mm-hmm. But I think looking at both of those things, I think just because there was so many eyes on it, I'm going to go with Lewis for the TV pages and the Super Bowl related stuff. And the headline I'm going with there is Fed title an extra pat on back for Mahomes, because his name's Patrick Mahomes. He's the quarterback, isn't he? He's the guy that does all the 147s and the 180s.
Aye, that's the one.
He throws the hole in ones for the guy to slam dunk it. That's the
baskets and all that.
The American
if he was a footballer,
the home runs.
He'd be the Callum McGregor.
That's would he be the Callum McGregor?
Luke McCowan.
Well, that's what they call the whole midfield player now, the quarterback, midfielder. The quarterback role. I said that to my dad, and he gave me the most dad response ever. Don't you ever fucking speak that shit to me ever again.
I know. I'm just trying to think what the Motherwell equivalent to that would be the now, and it's probably Andy fucking Halliday. But anyway,
Lennon Miller surely.
He's still young and up and coming. He's not got his cultured a right arm as what Patrick Mahomes would have just yet. Anyway, enough talk of American sports. Let's talk horoscopes as we come to the final section of this week's show. But because this is dropping to you on Valentine's Day, happy Valentine's Day to you if you don't have anyone else saying it to you, and you're listening to this instead of getting your hole. But what we're going to do is we are going to look at the horoscopes of some wrestlers and see what the best love matches would be. So from doing a bit of research into astrology, it's astrology, isn't it? It's not astronomy. Astronomy's like planets and stuff. Astrology is horoscopes. The star sign for people born around this time of year, or for people born on Valentine's Day, is Aquarius. Okay, so what I did was I looked up some wrestling Aquariuses, and I also looked up who Aquariuses are most compatible with in the love stakes, which turned out to be Geminis and Libras. So I've got I've got 3 male Aquarians, I've got 3 female Geminis, and 3 female Librans. Just for ease and for the for lack of controversy, I went for heterosexual couplings on this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a choice 1, 2, 3 from each of them. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick a male Aquarian, and then we're going to pick a female Libran and a female Gemini. Going to read out the horoscope for the Aquarian, and we're going to see which of the females is best suited to the male. Okay. Once we get going, you'll understand it better. So, Lewis, seeing as you are ahead, we'll start with Steve. Steve, you can get first pick. So, pick a number between 1 and 3 for your Aquarian male wrestler.
Hang on, am I not ahead?
Are they? I don't know. I thought...
Because I got the headline.
It's me, mate.
And
I got the back page and the TV.
No.
It's me.
I was going to say...
You gave me the Usos, did you? Did you give me the Usos? No, I deceived you the back page.
No, it was the Ospreay.
All right, I'll take that. I'll take that out. Right, I'll go first.
Lewis,
fire me in.
Lewis, you'll go first.
Tag me in.
So pick what number 1, 2, or 3 for your Aquarian male.
3.
3. Nigel McGuinness. So Nigel McGuinness is the male behind the. He's the male asking the questions in Blind Date here. Pick another number between 1 and 3 for a Gemini female.
1.
1. So that's Bailey. And pick 1, 2, or 3 for the Libra.
2.
To Asuka. So Nigel McGuinness is going to become the love interest for.
Imagine that threesome.
Asuka.
Okay, now.
Him commentating all the way through it.
Getting hit with a mist. Just
right then, man. Clam dinging.
So, horoscope number 1 that I have here. So, basically, what you need to do is you need to listen to this horoscope and decide if it's better suited to Bailey or Asuka to get Nigel McGuinness's affection. So, according to Russell Grant in the Daily Record today for Aquarians, the star sign or the horoscope was, you could do without problems and you really don't want to waste your time listening to people who never have a good thing to say about anything. If you keep to your usual routines, you're less likely to bump into snags that are associated with the unfamiliar. So, of Bailey and Asuka, who do you think that would relate to the most?
Go read that one more time. Sorry, mate.
So, you could do without problems, and you really don't want to waste your time listening to people who never have a good thing to say about anything. If you keep to your usual routines, you're less likely to bump into snags that are associated with the unfamiliar.
I think that perfectly sums up Bailey's feud right now, don't you think? She's surrounding herself by people who have nothing good to say. If she just stuck to being by herself, who knows how she, obviously kayfabe wise, how she would have done. So aye, surely Bailey though.
I would say so as well. I think Bailey is winning that round. What about yourself, Steve? Do you think that Bailey's the top choice for that?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It definitely sounds like a kind of Bailey problem.
Smash. She could do without the problems of damage control. And obviously that means she's kicking Asuka out of the bed at the same time as well. So that worked well. So that was McGuinness was number 3. So Nigel McGuinness is getting Bailey'd and Asuka is out under. So Steve, we'll come to you. Pick a number between 1 and 2 for your Aquarian male wrestler.
Let's go with 2.
Number 2 is Sheamus, the Celtic Warrior. Give me a number between 2 and 3 for your Gemini.
2 again.
2, Nia Jax. And for your Libra, 1 or 3.
1.
So Sheamus has got the pick of Nia Jax or Stephanie McMahon. And horoscope number 2 is by the dearly departed Mystic Meg, still sending out horoscopes from beyond the grave. for the sun. So Mystic Meg is cracking with your sign is already jam-packed with power planets, and now Mars makes quite the mighty entrance. Feel your energy and your confidence rising to tackle a backlog. Love-wise, you have such a physical gift, reviving desire and radiating attraction, especially outdoors. So, of Nia Jax and Stephanie McMahon, Steve, who do you think that relates to more?
Oh, that's 100% Nia Jax. She makes planets move every time she botches.
I would not like to tackle a backlog from her either. So it sounds like something that she'd be into. And it says she's quite physical. Well, love-wise, you have such a physical gift, especially outdoors. And I don't know if I don't know if technically the ring apron is classed as outdoors in wrestling terminology, but she loved shouting about her hole when she cracked it off that apron as well. In fact, that would be a tough backlog to tackle, I'd imagine, on there. So I'm in agreement on that with you, Steve. I think Big Shamey is taking Nia Jax for a wee bit of loving. What about you, Lewis? You in agreement with that?
I'd probably agree with Nia Jax. However, you could relate it to Stephanie McMahon by saying she's got a big backlog of sexual offences from her father to defend.
There is that as well.
So,
Allegedly.
allegedly, aye. So
I've
either
got
or.
to say this.
And
I've got to say this. We are creating the weirdest wrestling fan written fantasy of all time tonight, aren't we?
We are indeed. I was also going to say, if from some TikTok, some Twitter accounts out there as well, jam-packed with power planets is probably how you would describe Stephanie McMahon in the early 2000s as well.
Jericho would anyway.
Yes, yes. So we'll move on to the final one here. So we'll come back to you, Lewis, on this one. Again, there's no winners in this one. This is just all up for debate. So you are left with number one of the Aquarian males, which is the incomparable Marty Jannetty. This is an absolute belter. The way that this is done out. So Marty Jannetty has the choice of Velvet Sky or Sweet Saraya Knight. Saraya / Paige's mum.
You'll see he's fucked them both anyway, so don't really know who to choose. 100%. Let's hear that.
So the horoscope here is from the Metro. I don't know who it is that gives it to the Metro, but they are saying, as feisty Mars moves into your sign, the coming 6 weeks can leave you feeling energised and keen to get moving on major plans. In addition, you may be more forthcoming when it comes to resolving important matters. Ready to be honest? Speaking your mind could cut through any fluff, but being too truthful might sometimes hurt. A little diplomacy wouldn't go amiss. So, Velvet Sky or Saraya Knight, Sweet Saraya Knight, who do you think that last horoscope would tie in best with?
Am I right in thinking Velvet Skies with Bubba Ray Dudley? Is that
I'm not sure.
Or is it Angelina Love? Or is it one of the two?
No, it was Velvet Sky.
Or was it Velvet Sky? I was about to say, he could do a kind of bit of diplomacy, just shutting up sometimes. But I paint the picture of, you say that was Paige's mum, yes. Saraya's mum. I think that she, from seeing her in the past and all the interviews and everything she's done, she can tend to have a volatile opinion here or there. So I feel as though she would fit well for saying a lot and maybe being as well keeping quiet sometimes. So
did she not say something racist about Sasha Banks after the injury?
Probably. I'd say she fits that. There's a lot of allegedly in this episode.
That's probably it's probably the toughest horoscope to match up, but probably the most likely combination of wrestlers that you can think of: Marty Jannetty, Velvet Sky, and Sweet Saraya there. But yeah, that was just a fun wee thing to do then about Valentine's Day as we come to the end of this week's edition of the Heat Sheet. Lads, I hope that you are well chocolated and rosed up for Valentine's Day. And with the biggest will in the world, I hope that neither of you are stuck listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts tomorrow, or watching us on YouTube when you should be doing something more romantic. As always, if you've enjoyed what you've listened to, give us a follow on X/Twitter at the Heat Sheet Pod. Also put that into YouTube to find the past episodes on there as well. And yeah, if you like what you're hearing, let us know. Tell us about it on the socials as well as in the comments on YouTube. Like and subscribe. Do all that pish that you normally do. And from Lewis, Steve, and myself, whenever you are feeling the heat, keep your ear out for the sheet. Good night.